Welcome back, everybody. Derrick Soo, your East Oakland advocate. Well, today I'm going to mention some more survival homeless tips. And today I'm going to talk about fire load. And the reason why I want to talk about fire load is if you saw that thumbnail that brought you here, and that was caused by a fire that started because a candle was knocked over. And that's it. And it took out 3 shelters. And so the reason why I want to talk about that is because in homeless encampments, fires are very, very common, unfortunately. And the reason why they're common is because people don't put a fire break in between uh, their areas. And I've met with Oakland fire chief and staff. And believe me, that the City of Oakland Fire Department is divided into 2 separate sections. One section is political, where they don't really care about the response or the homeless, and then the other one does care about the homeless. And that's the ones that I had meetings with. I also had meetings with the assholes who don't want us here, and pretty much say we're just the problem in Oakland that needs to be eradicated. So those fire officials need to go, and I know who they are. But the ones that actually help us are the ones that usually are present at um, encampment closures in West Oakland. And I met with several of them, and one of the things that they really suggested to because of how they've noticed encampments and people get so close to each other. They've always said, put a 6 to 10 foot fire break between each person. 6 to 10 feet fire break. Well, a lot of times that fire break isn't enough, because how I lost mine, I was more than 10 feet away from uh, a trailer, an RV that was set on fire, and then the fire, because the intensity of the fire and the heat it transferred, it jumped that 10-foot gap to my shelter and burned my shelter down. $16,000 loss. And most of that was my solar equipment that made things operate. But anyway, fire load. And the problem that like I said, candles are the number one accidental fire starter in a shelter. And then number 2, the reason why that these fires, as you saw, cannot be stopped is because the occupant puts too much flammable items inside their space. They literally just make a space that is just one huge fire load of flammables. If you look back at what I've done, I spread out anything that can burn. I've spread out or put it in a place where it's very difficult for flames to get to it. So you see, I'm utilizing the framing to hang my shirts. And the other good thing about doing that, it absorbs some sound and noise. It also creates an insulating barrier from the cold and also the hot. So hanging your clothes like that is good, but the most important thing is not to pile up stuff, because there are so many people that are adamant about keeping their property and their stuff, that they just cram everything into a tiny space, not spread it out, and it concentrates what the fire department calls a fire load. A fire load is all flammables, burnables, propane canisters, gas cans, you name it. People put it inside their shelter. I do too, but the difference is I don't have piles of everything. If you will just look around my place, you see my TV and speaker system and one of my shelving. Uh, see the bed and everything. There we have the refrigerator. Behind me, I have shelves in here once again, and I spread all of my stuff out. But also, you notice they're not flammables are not very present there. We got some cardboard boxes here that could burn, but for the most part, nothing on that shelf uh, creates a big thermal fire load. Over here, this again, nothing really flammable there. There's some flammables. That's the boxes for the other solar panels, so they haven't been open yet. But if you look, I'm not putting a lot of flammables anywhere. The floor space is clear. And then on top of that, I have fire extinguishers. So there's a fire extinguisher there. I have two next to my bed. The reason why I keep two, one for fire, the other one in case somebody comes into my tent. A fire extinguisher to them and the face can save your life. Yeah, it's going to make a mess inside my tent, but it's better than being seriously injured from a stabbing or worse. But I keep two fire extinguishers next to the bed. Like I said, one is for a fire in case it happens. But the other good thing about having plastic siding like this is that you can easily cut through that with a knife or even just pierce it hard, tearing it and get out. And that's the advantage of having a plastic. In my next construction, that won't be the case because these are going to be solid walls. Literally, they're going to be solid walls with drywall, and then the insulation inside between the outer layer and the inner layer is going to be rock wool, and so it's going to maintain warmth and quiet, and it's not going to present much of a fire load because the exterior is all going to be covered with the concrete base siding, and so it makes it very flame resistant and fire resistant. In case somebody throws a Molotov cocktail at it, the cement siding's not going to go up in flames. It'll flame, but it's not going to be able to penetrate into the main home. The door on my next home is going to be a steel door, and it's going to have a deadbolt and a regular lock. But the most important thing is, like I said, that how people get into real big trouble is by creating a fire load. And as you see, there's no real fire load here. I've got flammable, burnable clothing up high off the ground so that if the fire, if there is a fire started by this thing, it's not going to travel far because I have fire extinguishers for my safety. Also, I have a 3-foot space around the single stove, and that way nothing can accidentally catch on fire because of excessive heat being thrown off by what's being cooked or heated. Also, this allows me to maintain a certain amount of warmth inside of here. This is 200 square feet. In one of my first videos, I showed you how a 5-gallon pot of water on a stove can keep a place warm for quite a while. And so this pot of water, when I boil it, will maintain the heat inside my shelter for about an hour, and then it cools down to a point where it's not as effective. It still is warm, and the nice thing is in the morning, the water is still warm enough where I can wash dishes with it, and it's about 100 degrees, 90 degrees water. By that time, it's cooled through the entire night. But again, getting back to interior fire load, make sure that you do not pile up flammable cardboard, papers, gasoline. Keep them apart and in a way that it's not going to accidentally trigger. And then also what you'll notice, I have my generator in here. Do you see it? No, you don't. Because what I've done, I've put a foil barrier, also wood barrier to absorb sound, cardboard to absorb sound, and it exhausts to the outside because I have an area cut out so that when that generator runs, it exhausts to the outside, and I don't have to worry about it. And some of you will probably say, well, why do you have it inside there? Isn't that dangerous? And, yeah, well, it's dangerous to a point if you're careless. You don't seal it up. I mean, you look at what I've done. I've sealed it up pretty good. So carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, all of the exhaust emissions will not back up into this shelter. It will exhaust to the outside. It also is right next to an area where I have cut open where it can draw fresh air also. So this is pretty well sealed off. Likelihood of anything happening there is slim and none. That's why I can keep my gasoline close by and know that it's safe, because there's a lot of stuff that has to will give me a lot of notice in the event of a fire. But also I've put the shelving. We have my microwave oven, and then also my pizza oven, along with other of my kitchen appliances. So anyway, I'm going to be setting up this area for some of the temporary cooking until I get the platform up and start constructing the new micro home. The micro home that I'm going to be putting together for you, that you're going to watch. And also you can participate by donating funds to help build the materials. I'm putting in $1,100 of my own money every month to speed the construction along. And we're going to put nearly 2,400 watts, almost 3,000 watts of solar panels on the roof of this micro home. And the micro home is one section of what I've been talking about, the barndominiums. And so a barndominium holds anywhere from 2 up to 8 separate units under one roof. And it has one common wall, and it's taking some old regulations that were part of an HOA that I was a president of, and using that same basic concept, but putting it into a smaller footprint. The footprint is between 3,500 up to 5,000 square feet. And so what we wanted to achieve are individual units in the barndominium of at least 420 square feet. That's for a single person or a couple. And then we have units that go up to 680 square feet, which would be for families. And families of 4 up to 5 would be very comfortable in these barndominiums. So you're going to be able to actually watch it. You're going to be able to help participate in the acquiring of materials. And once I have started construction, you can also come down here and look at the construction, or even give me a hand with some of the construction of the micro home. But anyway, that's what's on tap. That's what's going to be happening from starting next month. I'm going to start putting money aside for that, and also doing smaller things. But anyway, today's lesson, surviving homelessness, the tips, avoiding too much fire load. Thanks for joining me today. We'll be right back.